Yeah,
Pando killed the
shit
beat.
starts shooting, man. Yo, dreaming is free, man. I've been trying to tell y'all niggas. Now I'm back at it with part 2, you know? So listen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk Entertainment and Art. And here with you is the anchor on Instagram, found on Wethusonkhe_K. Unfortunately, my co-host couldn't be with me today because Gavanza guys Eswatini, it's that time of the year. It is winter. However, I am here and the show must go on. I have a special guest with me here. May you please introduce yourself?
Okay, how do you even follow such an introduction? Hi guys, my name is Sifiso Liweleya, also known as Fish. That's the name that everyone calls me. On Instagram, I go by Fish_the King. Twitter, F_EESCH.
You're bound to forget that.
And yeah, that's me.
Well, today we have Fish with us, F_Bani. You heard what he said. And he is a poet here in Eswatini, and he is about to tell us about that. So, journey, how did it start?
So actually I started, when did it start? It started around 2014.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, it's I've been doing this for a little while now. Actually, it started in 2013. Because we had just moved back to Swaziland, and
From?
we moved back from Zambia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think because I was just in a place where like I hadn't made friends and all of that, so it was just like a lonely space for a little while, and so I just started putting my thoughts on paper, and that's kind of how it started. And then I think 2014 was the first time I actually recited like in front of people.
Yeah.
And the first time was actually in church. So
The first time was in church?
Yeah, the first time was in church because I think Mamfundisi had like a prophetic word.
Or reciter could.
Yeah, or word of knowledge. That's the one.
So what happened exactly? You just discovered that you have this talent, or it started off as journaling and then you figured that maybe you could put your thoughts in an artistic way, and so you explored putting your thoughts in a poem. Like, how did it happen?
Okay, so I've always been interested in spoken word, rap, that sort of thing. And I think for the longest time I felt like I couldn't. I think mostly even just all through high school, I just felt like, I just didn't have the talent. And then I started journaling. It started with journaling.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I could actually, I was able to rhyme words, and actually keep the sense within whatever it was I was saying. Exactly. Even though I've strayed from that now. But yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
So what kind of poems do you write? Like, are you specific? And but I just do romantic poems, or honestly, Anyati poem that is not romantic. So that's the only genre of poems I can think of. But what is it that you really speak about in most of your poems?
Mostly, it's love.
I said it. I knew it.
Sounds very cliche, but that's the truth. I do tend to write about, it's mostly feelings, not necessarily always love, but how I'm feeling, fears that I have, aspirations that I have, that sort of thing. And I think also recently, a thing I started doing is just writing about social issues, like the issues that we're actually facing in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something that I've started doing recently. So I think I can't really say I have it's mostly love, but it's not limited to just that.
It's not limited to just that.
Yes.
Do you remember what the first poem you wrote was about?
Let me just think.
It was heartbreaky. What happened?
No, it wasn't heartbreak because I wasn't in a space where I was heartbroken. I think probably about loneliness and how I was feeling at the time, like when I started writing, and when I started out like on that journey, and then I think that was probably the first poem that I wrote.
Would you say that writing all these different poems has somewhat an effect on bettering your mental health and just overall making you a better person and understand the world differently?
It does, because for me, because it was journaling, it was sort of a form of release. So for me not to keep emotions pent up and not speak about them. So it was a way for me to release those emotions. And as I was saying, like even as I was saying now, Gutsy, the first poem I wrote was where I was mentally at the time, and that's usually how my poems go. Wherever I am, like mentally at that time, that's usually what I'm going to write about because it's more a release for me, and that's how I just kind of just
So
putting
how
half
do you
into paper and letting go. So I think it really has helped because then I'm not just sitting with my thoughts and there's a release, because I think what is supposed to happen, like with emotions, like as a person, you're not supposed to have like a dam, so to speak. Emotions are supposed to move through you like a river, and that's what it's been for me.
The funny thing is, normally when I hear,
Yeah.
like the crew is constantly laughing, like they're always making jokes, they're always busy on their phone and all of that, but there's a shift. Like, there is a shift. They are deep in the conversation, and because to tell the truth, you are really you're really changing the atmosphere, because once you speak on emotions, one way or the other, you are bound to affect human processes. You're bound to affect the way that a person is currently thinking, because we are directly linked to our emotions, and it's just a really sensitive part for us. So it's really honorable that you are able to take your emotions and process them and turn them into art, other than using them in a different way and lashing out and all of that. You actually turn it into something that will inspire people and that will resonate with people and help them understand how they're feeling and how to navigate all of that. So it's really amazing. And do you have any plans? Like, what is it that you want to do with your poems? Is it just something that you will keep personally for yourself, or it's something that you want to share worldwide?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So I think it's not like it's not something I would want to keep to myself. It's definitely something I'd want other people to experience also. I think in the beginning of The Climb Back, a song by J. Cole, there's a little voice clip that says, what? Or is it better getting or letting go? And I think, yes. And I think, I don't know, that's an important question, like for every artist. I think that's a question you should ask yourself, especially, with regards to why you're doing what you're doing. Are you doing it to get something, or are you doing it to give something out? And for me, it's the latter. I think definitely giving out, and I would definitely want people worldwide to have access to the poetry that I put out.
So when it comes to like how long does it take you to actually put a poem together? Like, is it something spontaneously with tea? This cup is filled with tea that is running through my system. Yeah, or something like that. Or you actually just first need to understand what is going on at that present moment and get to a point where you can say, you know what, singing it's something that I have healed from. It's something that I have moved on from, and now I can speak about. How does that happen for you?
What's my creative process? I think in the beginning I was only able to write when I was inspired or when I was feeling a certain emotion quite heavily. But over the years I've had to train myself to be able to write spontaneously, so I'm able to go spontaneously if I need to, and just go off the bat. But most of the time I don't wait for me to have gone through whatever it is that I'm feeling to be able to write about it. Because I think because it's a form of release for me, I write mostly during whatever it is that I'm feeling. And sometimes I will only understand exactly what I'm feeling once I put it on paper. Because sometimes it'll just be like, I have the urge to write. I don't necessarily know what about, but once I start, it starts to make sense.
It just flows, and you start to understand what it is that you wanted to write about.
And that's I guess how the difference in my creative process.
It's quite something. And what is your expectation when you put your poems out there? Like, how is it that you would expect people to react? How is it that you want to affect people with your poems?
So my bio on Instagram, I think even on Twitter, is if I can get you to believe in love, I win. And that's really just what I feel.
Wow, okay.
I think for me, just to invoke, is it invoke or evoke feeling out of the person? And I think for you, I think love is relatable across the board. So I think you'd be able to relate no matter where you are in your love journey or in your life journey even, because I think we all go through sort of similar phases in life. We face similar things when we're going through life. So at some point, one or more of my poems will be relatable to you, and I just feel like as long as if it resonates with you, then I'm happy.
Wow. Like, you are definitely evoking something in me. And the crew, they're not going to say anything, but I can see it. But I can see that you're definitely evoking something. And do you have something for us to play at the end of the interview?
I do, actually. It's a little... It's a piece that I wrote, and I had a friend of mine help me with the vocals and a guitar sort of melody. So it's a song somewhat. It's a song type of thing, but I do a little spoken word in there.
And what are your future plans, Nyalo, as you continue to grow in poetry and all of that?
My future plans. What are my future plans? That's a good question.
I'm asking you a lot of good questions.
That's a really good question. Future plans, I think, to put out bodies of work. To be able to put out like anthologies for people to be able to go into a store and buy, because I think occasionally I do post some of my longer pieces on Instagram, but for the most part I can't really do that. And so being able to put something together and then put it in a hard copy book that people are able to go out and get, I think that's something that I want to do.
That is definitely something I'm looking forward to. Definitely looking forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was amazing hearing from you and understanding where you stand on poetry. So tell me about the support system that you have. Who is it that you work with to get the vocals? Who is it that you work with to just make sure that whatever it is that you put out there is not too personal?
Okay.
Because it can, if you start it off as journaling,
Yeah.
it's very likely that you will find yourself writing about things that you're not supposed to,
Yeah.
and utikanze, like you're in a space, let's say, see vulnerable kakhulu.
Yeah.
So who proofreads your work and makes sure that your vulnerability is also kept safe?
Okay, I think you said support system. My parents actually from the beginning have been probably my biggest supporters. You know, driving me to like shows and stuff like that.
Shows?
You know, coming to shows, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, theater club, you know.
Uh-huh.
I think there were a couple there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've been blessed like with the community that I'm in. So like my friends, you know, not only are they able to be like, okay, because okay, I don't have someone proofread, but if I were to put something that was a little too vulnerable out there, I trust that they'd be able to let me know and be like, okay, I think this is a little bit too vulnerable, maybe change it, you know. And that hasn't happened yet, so I assume.
But how would that make you feel, like knowing that you wrote a certain piece that is so close to your heart, but having someone tell you that it's too vulnerable? How would that make you feel about yourself?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty good like system, you know, to judge how like the kind of work that I put out and how vulnerable that work is. So I think I wouldn't feel any type of way. Like I understand, okay, I'd just be like, okay, that was, you know, a mistake on my part. You know, it was an oversight, and I take it down, put up something else, and we move.
But when it comes to, okay, because I understand it, just as you mentioned, the journaling part and all of that, how do you protect your mental health from how people will react to the pieces that you put out? In the sense that, as you said, that when you work on a certain piece, it's how you're feeling at that present moment.
Yeah.
So there is a likelihood that at that time you are feeling upset, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling a certain way. How do you protect your mental health from the reactions that people might give you, the feedback and all of that, which might not always be so positive on your feelings? Because it can happen that that feedback might make you feel invalidated. So how do you make sure that your feelings and your mental health is protected?
I think just understanding that with anything that you put out, I think as an artist, there's people who are your target market and there's people who aren't your target market. So there's people who appreciate your work and there's people that won't appreciate your work. And I think before releasing anything, understanding that helps then, you know, not feel any type of way when someone doesn't necessarily receive your work the way you want it to be received. So I think that's how I protect my mental health, just understanding that I don't think that there's anything that I have to do necessarily, but I think just beforehand knowing that, okay, because people perceive art in their own way, you know, the same with this painting. I think people, like, it would mean different things to different people, you know, because
that's true.
The feather, you know, and culturally Lasatini has, you know, a specific meaning. To someone else the meaning is different, and you know, the perception then is different, and you know, that's just really how what I think every artist needs to understand, you know, before putting out work, that there's people that will appreciate your work and there's people that
won't appreciate your work.
And that's perfectly fine.
okay. The balance actually makes it easier for you to deal with everything.
Yeah, that's true. And then also I think because also there's many different artists out there. There's an artist for someone. You won't be for everyone. You can't
That's
be for
true.
everyone. So
You can't be.
I think that's why there needs to be diversity even in the art industry, because you won't, like, as an individual, your art won't appeal to every single person.
And you should be okay with that.
And you should be okay with that.
It's very true, because it's also a challenge that so many people face, that we want to please everyone.
Yeah.
And once that one person comes out and is not happy with our craft, we are completely demotivated. But that's because we don't really have the balance that you're not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. So have you ever written a piece about a specific someone?
Yes, actually I have. I think, yeah.
And how did you feel about their feedback?
There was actually, for the most part, or actually not even for the most part, I've only ever received good feedback for my poetry.
Really?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I should say, your poetry is not angry. It's not angry.
Yes, although there was this one time. I did a series, I think 2 years ago. Yeah, 2019 May. About healing, and I shared, just something that I had gone through with another individual, and the individual was not very happy, about the content, because it just felt like, why are you putting why are you putting
our business out there?
Why you put the business out there? How are people supposed to see me now? And I was just like, that was a part of my healing process, and it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't
spiteful.
It wasn't spiteful, it wasn't angry, it wasn't degrading even. It was just me sharing my story.
Yeah. And
I think that was the one time where...
And it served the purpose.
It did. And I think at the end of that series, there was a lot of positive feedback, at the end of that series, and that's something that people actually really enjoyed. That
I can only imagine how that made you feel, knowing that you are in a particular space and you are putting yourself out there, even though ungekho right, and you receive positive feedback. So I'm happy for you. I'm glad that happened, because wow, if it wasn't positive feedback, make that sharp hands.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Personally, it would have down 10-0. But look, you were able to handle it, and it actually served the purpose for you. At the end of it all, it wasn't for anyone else, but it was for you.
Definitely.
And that is the most important part. So we understand that you are into poetry. It is one of your craft. But apart from poetry, what else are you good at?
I'm a photographer as well. As well as being a poet. I'm a graphic designer as well, and I think that's sort of the range of my talents.
And throughout the day, what is it that mostly takes up your time? Like mostly?
Work.
As
I have a 9 to 5. Okay, work. I work for an online pharmacy, and I am the manager of the customer response team, and that's what takes up most of my days actually. 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
So when do you find the time to shoot? When do you find the time to write your poetry? Like, when do you find the time to do your graphic designing? Like, konke lokho.
Well, I think the apostle at church is always just talking about how after, I think from like 7 to 12, that's when your actual, not necessarily job, you work during the day and then you do purpose in the evening, and that's what he says. So poetry and graphic design, that I can definitely do during the evening, but sometimes like during the day, I think the fact that I'm a manager helps. I'm able to sneak away for shoots and things like that, and because also my work is mostly target based, so I think as long as targets are being met, I don't necessarily have to be at work the full 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit flexible in that regard. I'm able to sneak away from work and do what needs to be done, and just also keep up on the work front.
Your boss doesn't see this, because they will know you sneak away from work to do personal things. Oh gosh, right? And that is on you. That is on you.
I hope my boss doesn't see this.
We can
also.
only hope.
But I don't think he will. I think we're good. We're good.
We've never back spotlight, Nyalo.
Okay. Why am I nervous?
Why are you nervous?
Because spotlight.
Spotlight, you've been on the spotlight for the past 20 something minutes. But now it's shining brighter. Because I think I'm very sure our viewers would like to hear what is it that you do poetically, that is.
Okay. Okay. So you want me to recite something?
I'm pretty sure that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure, because I have like an audio.
Live. We want it live.
Okay. 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 Let me just get my phone out quickly and find something that I can do for you guys. Okay, I'm going to be reading because I don't memorize my poems unless I need to go before people and do that, because I write more for release. So I think once I've put it out there, I usually then just move on from it. So I have a little something here. It seems a little more than a little something. I think it's called Drunk. It's the second word. And it goes as such. I'm drunk, clumsy and tongue-tied. So I'm stumbling over my thoughts, holding myself up against feelings, knocking restraint over, giving into my emotions, both feet on the ground, but I'm sinking in this ocean. I'm slurring my words and my speech is impaired. The elixir is love and the dealer is you, and you won't let me leave till the ocean in me is poured out for you. So as this potion rocks back and forth against my lips, so does my love against the thought of you, and my heart lets down an anchor, so I'm grounded in you. Images of you creep a little further up the shore with every new sip, like a message in a bottle. Tales of a man who once lived in drought, to have the ocean, but to be thirsty forever. I can feel the level of the ocean rise in me, drowning out my thoughts, yet yours seem to stay afloat. Rising with the ocean, and now it's high tide and the sea is choppy because it's gone to my head. And it's swaying, but you're in the eye of my storm. Apple of my eye, and now I'm wailing like the ocean while tears stream down my face because I don't rain love, I pour it. Now my vision is blurry and nothing is still. It's high tide and I don't know if I'm swaying or the ground is, or was it the water? I'm losing balance and so are my thoughts, becoming more and more erratic, possibly frantic at the thought of giving into my fears. But again, it's all you. My head foggy, and after you, it's all hazy. At this point, I've taken on so much emotion, and it's only a matter of time before I'm waterlogged and sinking into an abyss of you. With little chance of being sought out or found, you're the Bermuda Triangle, and in your eyes, brown as the soil, I'm lost, belonging only to the ocean in this bottle. My fears are prideful, talking boldly about themselves at every opportunity, screaming falsehoods at the end of the pier, and I'm drifting further out to sea, finding it nearly impossible to stay afloat, and I can no longer hold in the ocean I've consumed because it's now turned against me. And as quickly as it went down, it's coming back up, and only then do I realize I've found console on the pavement, because even though it's cold, at least it's stable. I'm certain Cupid is a water spirit because now I'm drunk in love, steady stumbling, falling deeper in love with you.
I need to have a sip of this tea. Yeah. I was not expecting that. That was amazing.
Thank you so much. I was not expecting that either. I think it hit me harder than I expected.
But wow, that is amazing.
Thank you so much.
When did you write that?
When did I write this? Probably last year, 2020.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Most likely in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about it?
I really like it.
It really is good. It really is good.
I really like it. I think at the time I was feeling really drunk, off of love, and it just felt like it was throwing me off, like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was able to capture that in the poem.
Yeah, no, you really did capture, because
just
wow,
as I was feeling it.
I started feeling drunk. Like I was really daggy. You see, that drunk, I want that drunk.
Yeah, that's the one. It's a good one.
Wow,
the
that
best
is,
one.
you are talented.
Thank you so much.
Crazy.
Thank you so
You
much.
are talented, and I cannot wait to hear what our viewers are going to say about that.
Thank you so much.
I really do hope that they enjoy it just
I
as
hope
much
so
as
too.
I enjoyed having you on the show. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Sifiso. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
That is great. And unfortunately, this is the very last episode of season 2 of Talk, Entertainment and Art. However, do continue to subscribe, do continue to like, do continue to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. Because in season 3, the anchor, Mfana Kokasi, and landlady will still be here, and the show will still go on. Okay, I'm not sure if they're going to be here. We don't know. We might have vacancies. We might not. It's been a while. Stay tuned and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Dango.
Hey, it's a rip.
Mine's when the track love.
Love. Listen to that love, that one. Me, I wanted him to